Hello everybody and welcome to another list video here at Playing Board Games, and I'm following up with an idea that Eric had in the past, that we did this previously with 5 reasons to play Guardian over any other class, and we are now here for the next in the series, which is 5 reasons to play Seeker over any other class. So one thing I wanna nip in the bud, I wanna just stop right now, is that there's gonna be no...
Is that gesture?
No, I love that gesture. It represents cycling your deck, which Seekers are really good at. But that's not what I want to nip in the bud here, is the concept that I'm going to just say Seekers are strong, and that's a reason to play them over any other class. The reality is that every class is strong. Every class is strong. And at this point now, in my opinion, Seeker isn't even the strongest class anymore. They're the strongest class if you just like doing basic actions. But I'm not going to be wasting all your time with a video that's just basically like, they're strong, play them for that reason over other classes. Oh, Russ, don't you dare attack Eric. Okay?
We've been here before.
Yeah, we saw. He's getting ready. He has his foot, that back foot's ready to rock. Don't do it, Russ! Don't do it! Good boy. So I tried to come up with 5 reasons that I actually think are interesting, that's beyond just power level for this, to also kind of make it more interesting from a new player perspective of why you might want to play Seeker over other classes. So let's dive in with our first one, Eric, which is mechanically and thematically, they best represent the Lovecraftian protagonist. So let me ask you, Eric, when you think of a Lovecraftian protagonist, what do you picture in your head?
I picture one of 2 types of characters.
Yeah.
You're either a researcher,
yep,
or you're an artist.
Okay, well, the artist one they don't really have got, so that is a good one. That is a good one for me. But they have, as we can see from Mandy Thompson, she's actually the researcher, right? Yeah. It kind of carries over into the idea of like the more modern, like not modern, but like the more modernized weird horror. There's definitely the idea of like the intrepid explorer is a big part of this. Yep. And then also like it's such a staple, the private eye, right? Like that is such a big like Lovecraftian mythos character. So thematically, when you look at these guys just top down, these are like what you kind of just picture as one of the major Lovecraftian protagonist archetypes, right? Yeah. There's just there to research, get things done, discover unfathomable unknowns that eventually drive them crazy. Yeah. Right? I also don't know about you, but a lot of time I generally view a Lovecraftian protagonist as stronger of mind than body.
Almost always.
And the main reason for that is you might not know this, but most authors write themselves into their books. And Lovecraft was a gaunt man who was probably sick a lot of time, I'm going to wager, the time that he was living. So that's kind of like what carries over into the protagonist in my mind whenever I picture them. Like this gaunt, nerdy guy who is like, they're just discovering something unknown.
Well, and you often do see strong characters in Lovecraft, but they're rarely the protagonists.
Yeah.
Usually usually the strong characters are sort of side characters, or they're characters who we get to see kind of the juxtaposition between how the main characters experience something versus the other person who's like, I don't know, I'm kind of from the normal world.
Yes, yeah. So those are usually the Guardians. Those are the Guardians that we have here. But Seekers, I think they have this to the T. So if you're especially coming into this game as a fan of like Lovecraft and weird mythos, Cthulhu mythos adjacent stuff, Seeker would be a good place to start if you're looking for a mechanical connection to that. Sorry, a thematical connection to that. Mechanically, it's also very similar because they are just like literally that kind of cliche thing, opening the books, taking that magnifying glass, doing that researching to discover more about this horrible unknown thing that they're, is coming unraveling in front of their eyes, right?
I also do know that like there is one artist character who isn't in this color block. Mm-hmm. But I will say too that of all of the color pies, I feel like art gets split between the mystic and the seeker. Like the idea of the artist or the creative mind 100%. And stuff like that tends to be split here.
Well, because actually, there is the in the newest expansion, there's Lucius Galloway, who was the poet, right? And that's like one of those 4 that came into this. Yeah. I think there's a big reason why this character is called the Seeker class and why like they fit this archetype so well. All right, let's go to number 2, which is a bit less abstract. But we got there the only class that uses the researched mechanic. So researched is a kind of a side quest in a game of Arkham. You tried one of these in your Joe Diamond deck. I think you had two of them. You had the Strange Solution and we don't scratch the new chairs, buddy.
New chairs, by the way.
Yeah, and the Ravenous Myconids.
Yes, that's right. I used both of those.
Yes. And they're kind of like little side quests. Like, the nice thing about Arkham that makes it so fun is that it's kind of like a D&D campaign, right? Where between sessions, which are scenarios, your character levels up. You're going to spend experience, get new perks if it's D&D, that kind of thing, right? And the research cards are kind of like in addition to that, where they're powerful cards when you level them up, but you have to do like something within the scenario to make it happen. So it's kind of like in a D&D campaign, if your DM is like, you have to bring this stone back here, and the stone gives you a superpower when you bring it back. It's kind of like that kind of thing. So
it's like campaign rewards. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, campaign rewards, which already do happen in the actual campaign themselves, you might be thinking. But Seeker has their own little special mechanical campaign reward that is completely unique to their class. This has been in the game since the first cycle, and no other class has touched the research mechanic.
That's wild.
Which is kind of crazy, actually. Like, I figured like we'd see like one in like Mystic seems like the other class that would get this, right? Like, not Survivors, not Guardians, not Rogues, but like I figured like Mystics would get some sort of research thing. But they're keeping this one very close to the chest and having it just be Seeker only. So it's like a big reason beyond just power of playing the Seeker class. Mm-hmm. For you who recently played Joe Diamond, what did you think of the research mechanic?
So I really like it, and one of the reasons I really like it is because it can often be a thing for you to do if your character isn't particularly good at doing some other things, or is not particularly useful in a particular moment in the scenario. You can still further the game state. It's just that you're doing it on a meta level.
Yes.
You're like, okay, I'm going to be better at this game by the next scenario because now is the perfect downtime to work on this particular objective.
Yeah, 100%.
They also tend to be really well written too, in that they almost become like mini deck guides.
Yes.
I'm not saying you shouldn't like only focus on how you're going to break Dial of the Ancients open and get it working, but it kind of tells you what you want to be thinking about doing, what you want your class to be able to do.
100%. They've gotten a lot better at that. In the first ones, they were just kind of like, at least in the first cycle, they were just kind of broadly good. But I think you're 100% right, is that now you can look at an upgraded research card and kind of just say, I think I want to make a deck around this, which is conveniently something we're going to be talking about later in this actual list video as well. Yeah. All right, next one we got here is they can build incredible support decks, providing everyone more consistency. So this is something that was also in the Guardian video, and it was one of the reasons why to play Guardian over any other class. But you might be thinking, but Justin, why is it a reason that they support really well that to play both Guardian and Seeker? I thought that was a reason that maybe these lists would be unique. That's impossible, first off. Second off, they support very differently, right? Like Guardian, they do provide like card draw, resource generation, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of their soak also comes in other ways in the form of like damage soak for other people, and just also like being able to tutor specific things. Seeker has a very unique support style that people generally don't experiment with, because Seekers are... It's so much easier to just use those already powerful effects on yourself, right? And it's like one of those things where, yes, like Mandy Thompson, our researcher from the first slide's a great example. She has an ability as a reaction when someone searches, they can either search 3 additional cards or find 2 targets of their search. And that is just when an investigator at your location searches. And you might be thinking, that's a great thing to use on my teammates. But then you might be thinking, but there's already so many things in the Seeker class that I can just grab for myself. And that's kind of something that unfortunately happens with the Seeker class due to the fact that for a long time, they were hyper-powered more than the other classes, right? Mm-hmm. However, at this point now, Seeker card design has kind of just gone to the same level as the other classes. And I think the support is starting to get more interesting and trying to build these support decks to be more interesting. Like there's No Stone Unturned, the card on the left, which is just as a fast lightning bolt, someone can search their deck for a card. It can be you, it could be someone else, and if you're Mandy Thompson, I can have you search for 2 cards in your deck, which is a really powerful support effect. Thorough Inquiry just came out in the Feast of Hemlock Vale. It's just 2 actions, investigate a location, draw 5 cards as a group. Like you're gonna just like divvy them out.
That's pretty sick.
Scarlet Keys has Alchemical Distillation, which is a crazy support card.
I had no idea this card existed, and I'm so angry because I'm reading through it now, and I'm like, I should have had this as a flex every time. This is so good.
Yeah, it's a great way to spend your actions and support the team, right? Like you just gotta test book 1, and then if you succeed, you perform one of the following options, but the more experience you put into it, because it's customizable, the more things it can do. You can heal, you can place charges, you can have that person move. You can also like increase the values of the options. You can do 2 options, right? It's a lot of cool things that they're able to do as the Seeker class to support the team that is like distinctly like Seeker style support.
Well, and that's actually a shockingly good card as well, because it actually causes you to do an investigation action, which means if you have other cards that can chain off of you doing an investigation action.
Well, it's not an it's a book test, not an investigate. So however,
mind.
but you are 100% right. It is a book test, and a lot of your skills are meant for book tests, right? Like, so let's just like, for example, look at Perception 2, just to go off what you're saying, right? I could do Perception 2, choose you, and we both draw 2 cards.
Yeah, that's
right?
wild.
Like, and then also like it just can cascade and do all these other things. Their investigators, another one that you played was Min, right? Min, she can give other people icons for tests, right? So like Seeker support has actually been here since Path to Carcosa. Min has just been overshadowed because a lot of the other Seekers that come out around her were just much stronger. But she's still a very strong investigator who can do a really good job supporting the team. Okay, next one we got here, which is they have a large number of gimmick cards that can be well supported by the class's card pool. So when I say gimmick, a lot of other people would say bad. But, however, one thing that I've recently come to terms with as I've been playing more and more ARKHAM is that I don't think that there are bad cards, but I think a lot of the time the cards that people call are bad, they actually should just be calling themselves bad, because the card pool is so broad now that you can like make things work if you build around them. And Seeker supports that really well. If we just go into like before we even talk about the cards that are on this slide here, just the fact that Seeker has such good card draw, it makes your ability to find your weird pieces that much easier, right? And while that, like, I've never seen a Johnny-style player be like, Seeker is my favorite class. It's usually Spikes that like Seekers the most, right? I think that there are a lot of really cool things you can do it. Recently, Cryptic Grimoire, the card on the left, which is a researched card, and one that you can look at and be like, I want to build a deck around. So I actually did this. I was, me and another content creator were, we wanted to do a curse run where we showcased curses. So we should do Cryptic Grimoire, right? And it's like, after you resolve 1 or more curse tokens during a skill test, place that many secrets on Cryptic Grimoire, and then you can spend 5 secrets when you draw the top card in the counter deck to draw a card from your own deck instead. So then what I did is I took this Seeker card pool, and I was like, I had that like, it's like a Johnny and a Spike came together, right? Where I was like, I want to do this dumbass combo, but I want to fucking break it wide open, right? So I played Amanda Sharp, the strongest investigator in the game, in my opinion. And I drew, like, on average, like 6 to 8 less encounter cards throughout a scenario, right? Because you can just, like, find ways to put secrets on it, right? Because, like, a lot of that exists in Seeker. Like, you can add secrets to things. But also just the fact that you can, like, support it through card draw. And then you're also just, like, generally using the strong cards can do really well. Yes, other classes can do this. They can build good decks around cards. But I do think that the forgotten kind of gimmick cards in the Seeker class are actually very gimmicky and very fun to play around. Like if we go to the card on the far right, Otherworld Codex, it uses secrets, and you exhaust and spend a secret. So there's top 9 cards deck and choose a non-elite card among them. And then you get to discard a copy of the chosen card from play, right? Shuffle all the search cards back into the counter deck, which might make some people say, how can I use this card as the main enemy management, right? And I think that is such a unique Seeker type of doing this weird kind of like exploration of their card pool, because they have a lot of cards that people look at and say, I never want to touch this, but maybe you could, and maybe you could discover something.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, that Otherworld Codex does work. Going back to Mandy Thompson, you can like search additional cards. You can choose 2 targets just for fun. I like it in Daisy Walker because she gets a free action to do tomes. And secrets just fall off of trees now. Like, it's like they literally are everywhere. Like, everywhere. There's a card that just came out I would have killed from the Amanda deck. It's upgraded and raptured, where you can put 3 secrets on and a successful investigate. I would have drawn 12 less encounter cards if that was the case. It would have been insane. Would have been insane.
That's wild.
Okay. Our last slide here is a very interesting one, but I think it's also a very important one. And I kind of went a little bit more meta with this one, again, because I was trying to avoid the idea of just saying Seeker good, you know, like Seeker strong, because really every class is strong. But they're the best class at teaching new players the importance of driving the pace of the game. It goes beyond just the example that I put on this slide here, but this is actually something that I've seen. I've played ARKHAM with quite a few new players, and you'd be surprised at how many times, well, actually you wouldn't be surprised. It makes sense, but when you've been playing for as long as I do, you'd be surprised at how many players don't understand that the only thing that pushes the game forward is discovering clues, right? That's how you actually advance the game. Yes, you can defeat enemies when they show up, but that's just staying alive. Unless the scenario is asking you to defeat enemies, you have to do this by discovering clues, right? And Seekers are just the no-nonsense. I have 5 book in the core set, because that's where she came out, and I'm just going to basic investigate to discover clues. And then you can build on that and discover what tempo is. I do think that tempo is easier to understand with clues than it is with enemies at first when you're just starting out. But then later on, you can use that understanding to be like, it's nice to get clues quicker. Is it also nice to kill enemies quicker, right? And you can build off of that. Additionally, I also think that in the core set here, in this example, they also kind of teach you the idea of value, right? With the most easily approachable discovery of what value is, right? We look at Daisy Walker. She has an additional action which can be used on tome abilities. There were 2 level 0 tomes included in the core set, right? One of them is a healing card that is not that great. The other is a tutoring card, which is still played in Daisy Walker today, and I think is actually Daisy Walker's real ability. I think Daisy Walker's ability actually really says, choose an investigate location, search the top 3 cards of their deck for a card and draw it, right? It's that important for Daisy Walker. But it was such a good way of teaching players where you want to be spending your value. However, a lot of players do play medical text still because you don't want to die, but it also teaches you that not dying is not winning, right? And that's also where this is like a really nice thing that the Seeker class brought.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's why I always start someone with a Seeker, even though it is more important for like winning the game than the fighter. Fighters are usually pretty scary for new players. Every time I ask, they're like, do you want to fight monsters or get clues? They're like, I don't want to fight monsters. And I'm like, no problem. I got the monsters. I mean, in our first game, I fought the monsters and you got
true.
the clues. Yeah,
I don't disagree.
It's Stella, right? It's just the concept of fighting a monster sounds scary.
It feels more win or die.
Yes.
Which is hilarious because as you're describing it, it's actually the Seekers that are more win or die.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's crazy.
Just that perceptive.
Because like if you think about it, for new players who might not really grasp what I'm saying, let's just say, for example, you dictate such a pace in your clue discovery that you win the game 4 turns quicker. In 2 players, that's 8 less Mythos cards drawn, right? So, and even if half of those were enemies, you've essentially killed 4 enemies, right?
Yeah.
That's like really impressive. One thing that I did really enjoy that in Dunwich, the first cycle, Zoe Samaras, the Guardian, did a good job of teaching players that enemies are okay to be engaged with because she gives you money when they engage. And I think those 2, Daisy Walker and Zoe Samaras, are like the perfect teaching tools for their respective classes.
That's really good. I think you very firmly avoided the whole they're just strong. Mm-hmm. I think you explained why they are strong and also what that strength means in terms of what you can do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also just I hope that get a little bit weird with it.
Yeah.
Because even if you want to win the game, you can do it with a card that you originally deemed bad. Seriously, Cryptic Grimoire was insane, and I actually just saw someone commenting on a video that the card was bad. It's really good if you build around it.
Reading this,
yeah,
and thinking, so I've been doing a lot of Netrunner lately, mm-hmm. and reading this and thinking about, okay, so I have a 3 resource cost and I put a card down, that's 4.
Yeah.
And then this thing just passively does things anytime I draw a curse token, which, if you don't know, curse tokens can absolutely break the game with the card effects that they have, and then you can build around them so that they basically don't hurt you. Or you could use this and a really easy test to just go fishing to try and gather as many curse tokens as possible.
Yeah.
And then with this, it's just free actions. It takes no further action to gain any benefit off of this. And then it changes the tempo of the game. It removes a mythos for you to draw a card instead. That's a 2-for-1 value.
Yeah.
So it takes 2 uses of this for it to pay itself back on everything you've spent on it.
Yeah.
And then every single spending after that is a 2-card value.
Yeah. Yeah.
For no actions.
Yeah.
That's wild to me.
Yeah. You do need to build around it, like you said, like you do need to like take advantage of it.
Oh yeah, if this thing never fires, you've made a horrible mistake.
Yeah, if your hope is to just draw curse tokens, it's gonna fail. But if you can like trick it, yeah, it's like you said, it's very easy. Two things back, and you've like broken even. And it's also like it's like a weird broken even because you could have drawn a really like mythos card could be good or bad, so it's hard to know. So it's kind of like it's a little bit nebulous, but it feels good.
It feels like the single strongest way to play around the Mythos deck that I've ever read, because it just says no Mythos. No Mythos for you this turn. And I'm like, especially in a 2-player game, in my brain, I'm just like, you just have the Mythos deck.
Yeah, it is.
You just have it.
It is, because I played with this twice. Once in that Amanda deck, once before that. And there was a lot of... the first time I didn't really do that well. I saw someone else play it, it didn't go that well, right? It's just like, well, this isn't really doing anything. And then I was like, no, I want to see if I can make this work. And then suddenly we were winning the game without any risk. And I was like, why is this happening? And then I was like, oh, it's because I turned 6 Mythos phases into draw a card, right? Like that's very, very powerful. Okay, well, thanks for watching, everybody. In a few weeks, we'll be back to do this for the Rogue class, which is going to have a lot to say. Same with then Mystic and Survivor once we get to them. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing. Or if you want to go above and beyond, you can join all these awesome names down here by joining our Patreon down in the video description. We have 4 tiers with cool perks that come every month for each of those tiers. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Have a good one. And as always, finger guns.